Hi everyone, I'm David Scranton, and thank you for clicking on today's video. You know, having a financial advisor can make all the difference when it comes to achieving or not achieving your retirement goals. But it's also important to have the right advisor for your goals and for your personal situation. And that's why it's critical to try to avoid some of the most common mistakes that you'd be surprised how many people actually make when choosing their advisor. We'll discuss the 6 most common mistakes today and share some tips to help you avoid them. We'll cover choosing the first advisor you meet, choosing one with the wrong specialty or wrong business model, not understanding how your advisor is paid, hiring an order taker, and hiring a non-fiduciary. But first, let's talk more about why choosing the right advisor is so important. A 2020 Northwestern Mutual study found that 71% of United States adults admit their financial planning needs improvement, yet only 29% of Americans work with a financial advisor. And the value of working with an advisor, yes, of course, it can vary from person to person, right? But research shows that people who do work with an advisor feel more at ease about their finances and could actually end up with at least 15% more money to spend in retirement. Another key to that, however, is having the right advisor. And that starts with trying to avoid the mistakes that may lead you to choose the wrong one. So the first of the 6 most common mistakes is often a result of what I call the disease of ease. And that is hiring the first advisor that you meet. And while it's tempting to hire the advisor closest to home or the first advisor that you Google, this decision requires more time and more effort. And even if you already have an advisor who's done a good job for you during the growth stage, the accumulation stage of retirement planning, you still want to take steps to make sure that he or she is still the right advisor for you once you're transitioning to the income stage. And that brings us to mistake number 2, choosing an advisor with the wrong specialty. You see, most advisors have a particular area of knowledge, and that's fine. But if your own goals and needs lie outside the advisor specialty area, then he or she is probably not the right advisor for you. Closely related to that is mistake number 3, choosing an advisor with an incompatible business model. You see, an advisor's business model is based on his or her strategic approach to investing. Some, for example, might have an aggressive approach. They're focused on things like growth stocks or growth mutual funds. And since that's their main focus, they may try to steer you toward those options, even if they aren't entirely right for your situation or risk tolerance. And even if they say they can offer the more conservative options, those options might really not be all that conservative. They may, for example, include bond funds, which aren't the same as a diversified portfolio of individual bonds, because essentially they carry very few of the benefits of individual bonds, but almost all the same risks as stock mutual funds. But there are advisors who do genuinely focus on conservative strategies. Their main focus is often on options like individual bonds and bond-like instruments. They can typically offer more aggressive tools and strategies for people with higher risk tolerance, things like preferred stocks or real estate investment trusts. But since these options are designed to generate return in the form of interest or dividend income, it turns out that advisors with more conservative business models usually specialize in helping retirees and people close to retirement. Why? Because they help those folks make the transition from being growth or total return focused to being focused on income, how much in interest and dividends their portfolio can generate first. Now, mistake number 4 is choosing an advisor without understanding how or she's paid. Because some advisors are fee only and charge you a flat rate. Others charge you a percentage of your assets that they're managing. And others are paid commissions. So knowing how your advisor is paid is important for several reasons. First, you want to make sure their method of payment doesn't raise the possibility of a conflict of interest. Also, you want to try to avoid as much as possible the impact of hidden fees. Mistake number 5 is choosing an advisor who's an order taker. Now, of course, you definitely want to have someone who listens to you, okay? But it doesn't make any sense to pay somebody who just simply lets you make all the decisions and steer the ship. He or she should be a professional in money management. You're not. And as such, the advisor should be the one guiding you toward making the best decisions for your situation. And you should value the input, of course, but if your advisor is simply an order taker, then he's really doing you a disservice because he's not really acting in your best interest. And frankly, also, he might be a little bit lazy. So what's the best way to try to avoid that mistake and many of the others on this list? Well, it's by understanding mistake number 6. Choosing an advisor who's not a fiduciary. You see, some advisors aren't, and frankly, only the advisors who are fiduciaries are required by law to act in your best interest. And finding the right advisor is, of course, largely a matter of trust. But if you know your advisor's a fiduciary and he therefore is legally held to a high standard of accountability, it makes that trust come a little bit more easily. At least it justifies any trust that you might have in that person. So does this mean that all advisors who aren't fiduciaries cannot be trusted? Well, of course not. But the problem is you can't get into people's minds and really figure out what motivates them to make a certain recommendation. So the fiduciary bar is certainly helpful. But at bare minimum, just being aware of the difference between fiduciaries and non-fiduciaries can give you a helpful guideline for finding the advisor who's right for you. Because in addition to the trust factor, an advisor who adheres to these fiduciary standards is in many cases likely to be more specialized and have a niche. He or she is therefore more likely to be able to help you create a financial strategy geared toward your specific needs and your specific goals. And to help us out with this also important topic is Nathan Cox, co-founder of Retirement Income Solutions, a retirement income store located in Tennessee. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us today, as usual.
No problem.
So yeah, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have when they're looking for a financial advisor?
Oh, some of the biggest misconceptions, there's a lot of them, Dave. Well, for one thing, the misconception that advisors have a crystal ball and can tell what's going on with the markets on a daily basis, looking forward. I have to say that, the biggest misconception that I consistently find would be, not understanding that all financial advisors don't have conflicts, that they don't have your best interest at heart in a lot of cases. I mean, there are products out there, I guess is the best way to explain it. There are products out there that really are high commission level products. And this really causes an internal conflict with a lot of advisors to not push those high commission products. And the question becomes, how do you know if those products or that financial plan is in your best interest or your advisor's best interest?
So, do you think people put enough thought into this when they're making a decision as to which advisor to work with? Or do you think they just decide, hey, this guy's likable, he seems to know what he's talking about, I'm going to work with him?
People don't put enough thought into hiring a financial advisor, and they should. They really should. It's very, very important. I think it really comes down to sometimes to just, as you said, Dave, kind of a popularity contest. Hey, this guy's likable. But I think it really boils down to more with communication, being on the same page with your advisor. I encourage people to interview several advisors. Take your time, find the best fit for what you're trying to accomplish.
So what are some of the top things that you should be looking for when you're interviewing advisors or thinking about? Help everyone out with that so they know what questions to ask, what to consider.
Well, communication is a key. Making sure that the advisor speaks your language. The advisor speaks your financial language, can explain things to you in a way that you can clearly understand. Making sure that your advisor is on the same page as far as a plan is concerned. Because what a risk tolerance level or what your advisor's risk tolerance level is and what yours is may be completely different. I could tell you the number of times that I've had people come in the office and they maybe have another advisor and they consider themselves to be more of a conservative investor, but their portfolio, when I do an evaluation of their statements, their portfolio, as it turns out, they may be on the aggressive end. So it just doesn't match up.
So how about the fiduciary side? Talk for a minute about that, because you talked about people making sure the advisor is on the right side, the same side as you are with your goals and objectives. So talk about the fiduciary part of it and how people can tell when somebody's acting as a fiduciary or not, and what it means.
Well, I mean, I think the term fiduciary has gotten watered down a little bit, in my opinion. I mean, all financial advisors should have a fiduciary responsibility to their clients, but to me, it's more about limiting those conflicts of interest, or trying to control those conflicts of interest. So, I think it really is more about doing what's in the best interest for the client. Not really pushing any particular product, letting the client understand all the options that are available, because I don't find that happens in a lot of cases.
Okay. So what are the pitfalls? What are the dangers if someone hooks up with the wrong advisor, the advisor that's not right for them? What can go wrong?
Oh gosh, not having a portfolio that meets their objectives. And this goes back to something that we discussed earlier. Your advisor's risk tolerance level and yours not being aligned. Or being pushed up a risk curve. I find that a lot of cases are not understanding what risks are involved in your portfolio. Those are some of the pitfalls in having the wrong financial advisor.
Sure. Do you think sometimes it's because, you go in the medical field, and if you want treatment for back pain, you've got an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, an acupuncturist, and the average patient knows the difference between all four. But in our business, you think part of the problem is that the average investor just kind of paints us all with the same brush and say, oh, Nathan's a financial advisor, Dave's a financial advisor, they're all the same.
That's very true, and that does happen. People really don't know the difference, or they don't know that there is a difference between financial advisors. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And we specialize. We can specialize in different things. Not you and I, but I mean, other advisors specialize in different things. So one of the things that I find a lot is an advisor that's right for the accumulation stage of your life versus an advisor that's right for the distribution or the income stage. Do you agree that that's one of the most important things for people to be able to ascertain so they can determine they're with the right person for that stage of life?
Well, sure. And there are advisors that do have specialties. And I don't know that it's necessarily on purpose but it's just advisors know what they deal with on a daily basis, right? Similar, like you said, with doctors. So, going from that accumulation stage of your life to that distribution stage, it's tough in a lot of cases, because I think people know what's gotten them to that point, but they don't know where to go going forward. And sometimes they don't recognize that the advisor they may have had for 10, 20, even 30 years in some cases may be a growth specialist and might not be the right person to take them through that distribution stage once they're actually retired.
And if you think about it, you've got doctors that are pediatricians, doctors that are primary care doctors, and then doctors that are gerontologists that work with you when you get older and need a specialty. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that you outgrow your doctors at various phases, just like you outgrew your teachers, right? You had grammar school teachers, and then you graduated to high school teachers, and you graduated to college teachers. It's normal to outgrow one or the other. And I think one of the biggest issues is the word retirement planner. There's a lot of advisors that call themselves retirement planners, and they think, oh, well, this is perfect. But the person who's a retirement planner who's going to get you to retirement is different oftentimes from the person that's going to get you through retirement, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. So All right. Well, good words of wisdom to those that are watching us that are right now going through that process, trying to look for an advisor, or maybe even considering, gee, is my advisor right for me? And all I can say is that if you're watching this and you're in the Tennessee area, call Nathan Cox. Period, the end. It's the best advice I can give you. And Nathan, thanks so much for being here again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching today's video, the 6 most common mistakes to try to avoid when choosing a financial advisor. If you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up button to give us a like, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for new content each and every week.